and welcome back to my channel. Recently, cost of living, I think all around the world, has become really expensive, especially gas and electricity. So we have put our heating quite low, but because we have an old farmer's house, that means it is rather chilly inside the home. We ourselves don't really mind that because you get used to it when you live there every day. But when my son comes over, he always thinks it's very cold here in the house. Sorry. So he's always on the couch with a blanket on top of him, and still he's very cold. So I decided to make for him a blanket to wear. So that will be a very oversized sweater made out of a blanket that you can make just by buying 1 or 2 blankets and then piece them together as to a sweater. That will be very nice because you can wear it, so when you stand up from the couch and you walk around, you still have your blanket on. So it's a very large one, and I will show you how to make it, and I hope you like this idea. So I bought these 2 blankets. They are very big and very nice. They are 140 by 180, and the nice thing is they are doubled up, so they are lined. So the outside is a more velvety fabric and the inside is more a shearling like fabric. I think 2 years ago I made a coat out of such a blanket. I have a video of that here on my channel. I will link it up here and down in the description box if you like to watch that. It's very easy to make, and the nice thing is because this fabric is already, although this blanket is already doubled up, your coat will immediately also be lined. So we do the same now for the sweater. I would advise you first make your pattern and you see if you really need 2 blankets or if you can get away with just 1. It's a bit depending on what size you will make, but you can understand it will be a very nice and warm one. So for the pattern, what I did, I measured my son's body. My son is a medium to large. I measured around the chest while he was wearing a rather thick sweater, because this will be a blanket to wear, so it must fit over your warm clothing. So measure the person who you make it for when they are wearing rather warm, thick clothing. So I measured especially around the chest area, and then of course the length. And then I drew a rectangle from there and then from there. That is 80 centimeters long and 34 centimeters wide. Then what I did is I marked 33 centimeters from the top for the armhole, and I went 4 centimeters in. You see here now 2 lines, because first I made it till here, but I thought it was a little bit too small, so I made it 4 centimeters wide. So just look at the outside line. So 33 centimeters from the shoulder seam, and then here on the top go 4 centimeters in, and then draw a curved line. And you can use a curved ruler like this, but you can also just draw it by hand. And what I always like to do is just let it go in just a little bit, just a centimeter from the straight line, going in a little bit, and then go down to the bottom of the armhole. Then here for the neck hole, I made it start 11 centimeters from the mid front and mid back. Then for the front I went 10 centimeters down from the top line, and for the back neck hole I went 3 centimeters down for the neck hole, and then draw 2 nice curves. And then you have your pattern for the front and for the back already ready. It's just a straightforward boxy cut, because you don't need anything fitted or anything like that. Then for the sleeve, this is also just a straightforward rectangle. I made this also 80 centimeters long, but measure how long the person you make it for needs the sleeves to be. I made it a little bit longer than I think it should be, because I think it's nice when it's too long. You can also cuff it, and you have a little bit more fabric here around your wrist, and I think that is nice. So make sure you make it certainly not too short. Too long is not that's such a problem, because you can nicely cuff it. Then here the width of the sleeve is of course the width of your armhole. So my armhole was 34 centimeters, so I measured here 34 centimeters and then going down from the straight line 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 centimeters, and then you make just a little bit of a curve. You can also just make it straight on, but it gives a little bit, it moves a little bit nicer when you have a little bit of a curve in your sleeve and not just straight shoulder, straight sleeve. You can do that too, that is even easier, but I don't really like that. And then you measure here around the bottom of your sleeve how wide you want it to be. I made my water wide, this is 25 centimeters, and you see of course this is the fold. Normally we make a whole sleeve, but because this is so big, I made the sleeve also on the fold. So make sure that you notice that. So I made here half of my sleeve 25 centimeters. Maybe that is too much, then I always can take it in later on. If this is really too wide when it's blowing in or whatever, if it's not comfortable that width, but I always like to have more fabric that I can take it in, because I cannot add. So just measure around the waist how much you or on the average like to have, and then make a line from the bottom of the sleeve, from the armhole down to the bottom of the sleeve, and then you have your sleeve. Then for the finishing of the neckline, you make just a rectangle, and best is that you measure your neckline for the front and for the back and then double that up. You can just do that with your measuring tape, just hold it here and hold it there and then doubled. For me that is 55 centimeters, so I made a rectangle 55 centimeters long, and I think this is 10 centimeters. Oh, it's 12. I made it 12 centimeters, and I think I will double it up, so put it also on the fold here. Then you have a nice high collar. If you like, you can also put a drawstring here on the top of the collar. Then you can close it up a bit more when it's really cold. I cut my pieces, and you see they are huge. And don't forget to pin every piece separately, the two layers together, because otherwise they will shift when you get sewing. So I put some large pins on all the sides of all the pieces. Then we're gonna begin with sewing the shoulder seams, and that means you put your front panel onto the back panel, align the shoulders and sew them together. I will sew it down with a large zigzag stitch, because both these fabrics are stretchy, and then finish it with my serger. If you don't have a serger, you can finish it just with a larger zigzag stitch on the edges. Seams are done. Now we're gonna sew in the sleeves, and you see this fluff everywhere, so you have to have your vacuum cleaner on hand, because it is all over the place. But I will just finish it up later when I have done all the seams, then it cannot make that fluff anymore. So you lay your parts open, so the front and the back either to their own side. Then you take one of the sleeves. You mark the middle of your sleeve, and it's all really big items. Where is my middle? Here is the middle of the sleeve. You do that just by folding it double, of course, and then put a pin in the middle. And then you line that middle of the sleeve up with your shoulder seam, and then you can sew the whole sleeve seam here on either side. And make sure again that all your fabrics are nicely lined up, that not the outer fabric is sliding away, because then when you sew, your outer fabric is not sewn also. So make sure you line them up very nicely, and just pin or clip all the way to the end of your armhole, and then sew. Then you can do just this whole part of the whole sleeve. now you have this big rectangle with these two wings on the sides, and what you do is you put your front and your back on top of each other, that the side seams are matching, and it's a lot of fabric. And the sleeve, that's the wings, you're gonna fold them double like this so that the sleeve seams are also matching. And then you can sew, you line up of course here the underarm seams, and then you can sew here the whole side seam of the sweater and here the whole sleeve seam on both sides. We're going to finish the hemline on the bottom and on the bottom of the sleeves, and of course you can just finish it with the zigzag or with your serger and then fold it in. But what I want to do, because I want to be able to flip it over, like so cuff the sleeves, I will just fold the outer fabric and the inner fabric in and then top stitch them like this, and then you don't have raw edges, you can just flip it over or wear it like this. So I will do that for the sleeves, and I will also do it for the bottom of the sweater, although for the bottom it doesn't really matter, but I like that finish more than when you just finish it and flip it in. So pin that down all, and also for the bottom if you want to. I decided to open up the neckline a little bit more, because I think it is more comfortable when you have a hoodie underneath or something, that you have a little bit more room here, and because we put on the collar you can still close it up very nicely. So I will open it up around 1 centimeter from the shoulder line in the front. The back I won't make lower, but of course because you have to match up the shoulders, here on the top it will be a little bit wider too. So I'll just cut it open. Pin my layers again together, and of course then I also have to cut my collar wider. I hadn't cut it out already, so I can just change my pattern that I made into the right size. And again, you can just do that by putting your measuring tape all around and see how much width you need for this. So I think it was 55 or something that I had, or 56. Now it is 64, so I will make it a little bit wider like this. I cut out my collar with the new measurements, and I changed my mind how I wanted to do it, because eventually I said I wanted to double it up, but I think that it's way too much fabric around your neck. So what I decided to do is I'm taking these parts separate and then sewing them right sides together, like we normally do if you would make a double collar or a double whatever. So right sides together. I'm gonna sew that from one side, then you flip it over, and then you can close it up, and then you can close the circle. And what I will do then is I will make a tunnel here, a casing here on the outside. When I've sewn it together, you flip them again like this, and then you can make a casing here where you can put a drawstring through. So that means that you have to make two openings here in the middle of your outer fabric, like a buttonhole or whatever you like to do, an eyelet or something that you can put a cord in between. So first I'm going to sew them together, I like that most, and then I'm going to make two openings here, and then we're closing up the circle. So the two layers are connected. I measured here, or I marked where here the middle is for the whole collar. And then I'm gonna put two pins where I want my buttonhole to be. And that is just a little bit left and right from the middle. And then I'm gonna make there two buttonholes like that. The two fabrics together for making a casing, and I made a wide casing because I'm not sure what to put in, and I don't want to have the problem that I have too little. But when you know what to put in, make it as small as you can, because I think that is the nicest. But I'll do it just like that, and then we're going to sew down our casing. To do something first, because of course first we have to close our loop. So I took down a little bit of the casing that I was already sewing, because first we have to sew this closed, and that means you line up here the stitching of the two fabrics, make sure they are really nicely aligned. You pin them together, and I'll pin both sides and sew that circle closed. And then you can go on with sewing down that casing. When you've closed the circle and you've sewn your casing here on top, I have to cut off this thread. Then we're going to sew the collar to the sweater. Make sure you mark the mid front and the mid back also on your collar and line them up. So just place them together again, make sure that all the layers are nicely connected, and then you pin that all around and you sew that down. And when you've done that, you only have to feed in here a cord or something to tie the top if you want to. And here is your very large sweater blanket to wear. A cuff that looks very nice like this. So I hope you liked this tutorial. Leave me a comment if you have any questions or if you want to say something. And I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.